Hey everyone, so on today's episode of Tuesday Tools, I'm going to be looking at ShadowStudio2. This is a premium plugin for Adobe After Effects from the guys over at Plugin Everything. So if you end up liking this tool and you want to pick it up, please use my affiliate link down in the video description, and if you use the discount code booneshadowstudiotwo, you get 20% off. I'm inside of Adobe After Effects and I've added a simple white solid here that I'm going to use as my background. Now I'm going to hit Control T and I'm going to add some new text here. And I'm just going to type out the word yo in big bold letters. Now I'm gonna go and align this to the center. Now once you've installed Shadow Studio, you can find it by going to Window and opening the Effects and Presets panel, and then simply scroll down and you'll find a Plugin Everything drop down menu here, and right here it is listed as an effect. Now I'm gonna grab this and drag it and drop it right over my text. Now, depending on what your text looks like, the shadow can immediately look pretty good, or it might not fit that particular graphic. So it all really depends on what you've got going. So if you're lucky enough to where it looks good, that's great. If not, you might need to tweak it a bit. So over here in the Effect Controls panel, you'll see all of the different parameters here. Now, before jumping into this, I want to show you one other thing. So if I go up here under Animation Presets, there's actually 5 different user presets. So I'm opening up the user preset subfolder, and right here you can see Shadow Studio 2. We have long radial shadow, long soft shadow. So if you don't want to, dive in and tweak all these specific parameters and you just kind of are in a hurry, you can play around with some of these. But again, not all of these are going to look good right off the bat or fit your specific graphic. So let's just take a quick look. I'm going to delete the effect here and I'm going to grab long radial shadows and drop it on here and see how it looks. So right away, this one looks pretty good. I'm gonna undo that. Let's take a look at long shadow. Very cool. Undo that. Long soft shadow. Soft diffuse shadow. That one looks good. And stroke fine detail. Now this one looks a bit crappy. So this one, naturally, we might want to use that with a different style of text, something that's a little more thin. Okay, so now I'm gonna delete this effect and let's go back and reapply it from scratch and have a closer look at the parameters. So first we have shadow type. There's 3 different modes. We have normal, inner, and radial. Naturally, there's a few different parameters for each of these settings, but let's stick to normal and take a closer look at what we've got going on here. The next 4 parameters are pretty standard with any shadow effect that you would have. You have your angle controls, which are keyframeable. We have the distance and the softness, so I can bring the distance back. I can bring the softness down, or soften it up a little bit more. I can change the color. So let's say I want to add a little bit of red into the shadows. I can do that. Now, if I bring the softness of these shadows all the way down to 0, you can see how this plugin is actually working. So what's going on here is that it's just duplicating a bunch of copies and then adding a blur effect and softening them up to give you the illusion of a shadow. And this is really cool because you can really take tight control over your render speed. So if you want this to render fast, you can make adjustments in the parameters to make it less render intensive. So you can control some of the quality of these. If you look down, there's a quality section and I can control the samples. Let me take the softness back down. So I can bump up these samples if I want to boost the quality a little bit. That's going to increase my render time, make it a little bit more render intensive. And this can go all the way up to, I think, 256. Let's bring that back down. And I can change the resolution of all these copies. So right now it's set to moderate. If I turn it to extreme, it's going to sharpen those up, or I can take it down way low. And since we're, blurring these out, it's subtle adjustments within the shadow there, and this will drastically affect your render time as well. So I think you should probably keep it at moderate, and I'm going to keep it in this mode so you can really see what's going on. With the opacity start and end, it's set to, by default, set to 20 and 50, and if you look here, you can really customize your shadow and the fall off here by tweaking these. And then the same thing with easing. We have different ease modes. Ease in and out, and you can really take tight control over that fall off. One of the really important parameter is the compositing option here. So I can turn the opacity down of the layer and just have the shadow, or I can offset the shadow. So if I'm seeing a little bit of the shadow on the edges here, I can pull that away from the layer, which will really help. Now let's check out inner shadow. I'm going to turn the shadow type over here to inner shadow. And if I just bring the distance back and the softness, I can start to get this really cool. I really like this look actually. And so just like that, I can animate this angle and maybe move the text a little bit. And I have a very dynamic animation in just a matter of seconds here. Now let's create another quick look. So we'll call this one Inner Shadow. And I'm gonna duplicate this. Let's call this Radial. And I'll quickly reset this. So when I switch to Radial, the big difference is right now, normal, we have this angle control. So if I switch to Radial, now we don't have the angle control, we have this origin parameter here, which is vastly superior in my opinion. I love it. Still keyframeable, but check it out. I've got the little origin point up here, and you're not gonna be able to see it unless you actually have the effect selected. But if I move this, now I can quickly control, you know, the position of the shadows, and this is way cool. Now what makes this so much more superior, what makes this so much better than the angle control is the fact that, check this out, I'm gonna grab the text layer and I'm gonna grab position, and now if I just move the position around, the shadows also react. Mind blown. Now you're not gonna get that with the angle control, so that's why radial shadows are king in my opinion. So now I could, you know, go back and be all specific with this one too, but I'm gonna delete this and I'm gonna go and grab that long radial shadow again. This happens to be my favorite preset from Shadow Studio. This one's super cool. So we got the long shadows here, and you can see it's applied to Shadow Studio effects, and it has some expressions going on here so that when you tweak the first one, everything kind of falls in line and reacts how it should. So I'm gonna grab this origin point and check this out. So cool. You can see how easy this is to animate now. So with the position, I'm gonna go to 1 second. Let's add a keyframe, go back, and just drag this down. And as you can see, what's so cool about this is the shadows are reacting, and all I did was add 2 keyframes from position there. So I can make this even more, you know, animated by animating the origin. So let me just go over here, add a keyframe to the origin, and let's say we want the origin point to kind of sweep across here. So now let's see what happens. Super cool. You can even see when it moves, when it, you know, separates the letters. That looks really cool. So you can get into some like per character animations and probably get some really amazing looks. And I can go here, let me duplicate it again, and let's do something, let's do the stroke. Let's do something a little different. I'm gonna open this one up. Now let's add this stroke fine detail. Doesn't look that great, but if I switch this to just strokes, if I go to the character panel and I just swap the stroke, now we have something a little more interesting. Whoa. Actually, let me add a wiggle to the distance. Let's do something like 15. Just messing around. One other cool thing you can do is if you want to do some abstract kind of content, I was messing around with some path animations. So if I grab the pen tool and then I draw this here, actually let's do something like this. Okay, so here I have a simple path. Now I can go and grab one of these shadows. Let's do the should the soft diffuse one or stroke fine detail. And actually for compositing, that offset shadow is way off. So I'm gonna bring it right to the path. So now what I can do is do something like I can go to the taper of the stroke and let's start to tweak that. And now you can see that that's gonna tweak some of our shadows here, even tweak the end of it, and maybe add some dashes to it. I don't know, add a dash. And now you can animate the offset maybe. So you can get some kind of weird looks. And as I said before, the classic infographic. So here we have, you know, this simple path here, and I can go and add a trim paths and animate the trim paths from 0 to 100. Quick bar graph animation. That's looking pretty boring right there. But if I go and grab one of these, kablam, it's already a lot more dynamic. There's before, there's after. By the way, All of these look pretty good on black and white, but once you start to introduce color, you might have to do a little bit more work to make it look good, so just remember that. But you can download the trial version and play around with it, see if you like it. It has the watermarks there. But again, if you like it and you want to purchase it, please check out my affiliate link down in the video description. And don't forget to use my promo code. It's booneshadowstudiotwo, all spelled out. That'll get you a 20% discount. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell.